Hi, my name is Bob Cristello. I am a WordPress architect. I work in the digital marketing space for a global data protection company. Welcome back to episode 3 of WordPress with WP Bob. Today we're going to be talking about what are WordPress plugins. I want to be clear that none of the strategies, none of the opinions I express are a reflection of the policies of my company. Or any other agency I may be involved with. Excuse me. Also, nothing I say could be used as business or financial advice. So, caveat emptor when you're listening to this presentation. Let's dive right into what are WordPress plugins. So, we did look at themes last time and plugins. This is the WP Bob website. And you can see there are two plugins that are have a white background. This means that they're not activated. Hello Dolly and Akismet. Two very popular plugins. Hello Dolly being the oldest. We're going to look at these in code in a little bit, but I wanted to point out this here, like Avada Builder, Avada Core. One of the reasons why we have these plugins installed, which we didn't cover in the last episode, is like in a default WordPress, there are no plugins for the theme. There's just themes. And themes, as we looked at the way themes were coded, themes and plugins used to be coded separately. And technically they still are, but every person who's developing themes in a block format these days uses some sort of core or builder or combination of the two. In fact, if we go out and look at plugins and we look at the most popular plugins, well, there you go. Elementor's the number 2 most popular plugin in the world, according to WordPress. So you cannot install a Elementor compatible theme without some sort of basic Elementor plugin. So the reason why I'm telling you this is, when you look at installed plugins, like this is something that my hosting company put in. I could probably take that out. It just basically says if you log in X number of times, it'll boot you and you can't log in again for ever. So it's a cool little plugin. External links is just a simple thing I put in to test. When I clicked on something, it went automatically to an external link. I didn't feel like setting up the HTML or the links or anything. I was just playing around. So these two will probably go away. But the interesting thing is now every time you install a theme, you may have to install these builders, these plugins, and that will add to your plugin list. And industry standards and practices for plugins is always the least amount possible. Hands down. People will tell you, oh yeah, you can have 15, 16, 30 plugins. Yeah, sure you can. I can also have, 20 spare tires in my trunk if my trunk is big enough. But, why would I guess is the point. So you want to keep your plugin list as small as possible. You want it to address your needs. Like, for example, you can upload plugins as well in zip format. I always love saying that. Anyway. But let's say here we were interested in something of the nature of security. Now let's see where WordFence. Well, there you go. WordFence pops up right now. So there's a few of them. iTheme Security, All-in-One Security, WordFence. I always tell people, if you want really big protection, get WordFence. It does everything. Puts a firewall around your website, scans it for malware, puts in 2-factor authentication. It's also got external scanning, but some companies don't want to implement this because it breaks data protection compliance at times if you don't implement it the right way. And that's interesting because I am in the data protection agency, so things like that become important to me. But WordFence, I do suggest you look into some sort of security plugin. So we're actually going to install a popular plugin called Yoast. So here we go. And before we do that, let's look at the server level for just a minute. We've looked at bobcristello.com. We've looked at, wpbob.com. This is actually how they look like in the back end. Like here's, pretty sure this is bobcristello.com. It's got 12 tables as a default. You'll notice that wpbob.com, if that's the correct one, let's just make sure, yeah, wpbob.com. So you can see that there's like 16 tables here, right? Yeah. Let's make sure. Yeah, so you have 16 tables here. So 4 additional tables were added by either the theme or the plugin. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this, let's stay on WP-Bob. So I'm going to close out Bob Cristello. So here's the database for WP-Bob. Now we're going to install this Yoast SEO. Very simple. You click a button and it's installed. So before we activate it, let's come back over here and let's refresh this view. Okay, let's see if I can refresh the view. Let's see if I go to this database maybe, and then come back to this one. No, I think I might have to refresh the whole screen, which would cause me problems. No, okay, cool. Okay, so no additional tables have been added yet. Do you see that? I really thought it would have happened by now, but perhaps when I activate it. So there we go, we activate it. So it's now saying it's been successfully installed. Let's look at the database again out here for WP-Bob. And there you go. So you can see that Yoast indexable hierarchy, migrations, primary terms, SEO links. So now your database is up to 21 tables. So every time you install something, tables get added to your site. So this is one of the reasons why we want to keep it low. So I'm just going to breeze through this first time configuration. I'm just going to select everything. Let's see, continue. It's fine. Save and continue. I don't really care about any of this stuff. I want to show you how this works. So save and continue, personal preferences. So don't track my site data, and finish configuration. Okay. So here's my SEO dashboard now. And it will probably tell me things like, hey, your site's not even exposed to the world, so you have a problem. But you can set your Yoast SEO tool up. You can configure it to the way that you like to write, the way that you want to write, the types of integrations that you want to use, like SEMrush or Windshare. There's all sorts of tools inside of Yoast. And of course, you can upsell this, but let's take a look at the real power of Yoast in the context of why we want to use it. When we create posts and pages, there's an underlying structure. So like when we look at WP-Bob, let's look at this for a minute. So if I view the source for this, like we should start to see, like, there you go, like canonical refs, OG local, OG type. These are things that Facebook reads actually. And here's the Twitter card one. So like all of these things would not exist if the Yoast had not been installed. So it's a worthwhile investment in 5 additional tables. And what happens is if you were to add a new post here, we're going to go into the back end builder, like test post. And we're going to add a container, a simple one-on-one container, and just put some paragraph text in there. You know, lorem ipsum. And, sorry, yeah, I don't think that's right. It's lorem. Doesn't really matter. So anyway. But then down here, you can see this is what this is going to look like in Google search engine for mobile. This is what it's going to look like in Google search engine for desktop. You can add a description like blah, blah, Wow. Wow. If the idea is that you can see it instantly right there. You can do a lot of advanced things with this tool, which I'm not going to go into it, but it will give you scores if you give it, the right keywords. And the important thing that people use it for is they can put a Facebook image, a Facebook title and a description, and a Twitter image and a Twitter title and a description. And then because of all that code on the front end of the page, you hit the triad of this is what I look like in Google, this is what I look like in Facebook, and this is what I look like in Twitter. And the idea is that, when you type in a word like, your name, for example, well, there's your Facebook, there's your LinkedIn, there's, your Twitter. It's all right there, right in the first. So now that's not the way you rank pages. Nobody in the world is searching for Bob Cristello except for maybe, I don't know, people I knew in the military. So the idea, though, is that these plugins will extend your functionality of your system. It will add more items into your database. And as a general rule, we try not to use too many of these things. And I'm not slamming any people who are putting out media in the world, but a lot of people promise that you could do a million things with WordPress. In fact, like here, set up a WordPress affiliate website in an hour or less and start making money immediately. Yes, you can do that. You got to pay for the Google traffic. Nobody ever tells you how to get the traffic. They tell you about SEO, but they don't tell you that SEO takes a long time to build your social or your organic traffic. So you don't want to get into the situation where you're following somebody else's script of 20 plugins and, one theme, and it's just really not going to give you what you need. It is going to occupy your time while you follow a person who wants to give you, I don't know, something in exchange for your loyalty, attention, money, whatever it is. And if you want to understand the way these things really work, you have to talk to WordPress professionals, people who do WordPress for a living. And before I was a WordPress professional, I was a programmer. I started programming in COBOL when I was a kid, So when I say a kid, I mean when I was in the military. I have been programming for a long time. So the idea that I understand system architectures and mainframes and, this is just the way you had to do things if you were going to be in the technology field back then. So WordPress, digital marketing teams, interacting with other teams in your company, such as product sales, these are very important interactions in today's world where we have the ability to level the playing field and to advertise whatever it is that we're advertising. I'm not advertising anything. This is my masterclass. So, once again, let's dig down a little bit deeper because I like to do that. Okay, so what we're looking at is our Visual Studio Code. Time for the glasses to come on. Last time we looked at the two themes, 2021 and 2023. Today we're going to be looking at plugins, and as I said, Hello Dolly is actually a single page that just sits in the directory, and you can see it's got some comments at the top, and these comments are basically used to display this information. Like when you go here, let's go back just for a second. So when I look at the plugins here, for example, like I can see the name of the plugin, activate, delete, what version number it is, the author. There's typically a link to the author. There's details, a link to the details. And then if any of these, like say, for example, you've got 1.7.2 and it upgrades to 1.7.3, Mr. Mullenweg here, through CI/CD, constant integration, constant development, would put a message inside your WordPress automatically. WordPress is set up to do that. You click a button to update it. And many companies want to write plugins that they want to put out there using CI/CD, and yet there has to be an understanding of how this technology works in order to actualize people's vision. So coming back into the code, you can see that Hello Dolly is just very simple. It actually does a very elegant thing. It just chooses all of the lyrics from Hello Dolly and it breaks it up. And then it does this Hello Dolly call. And this function is triggered by admin notices, which is a WordPress theme hook or a plugin hook. It's a hook. So when admin notices gets triggered, this function gets triggered. When this function gets triggered, it calls this function, and there's all your Dolly CSS. They put the Dolly CSS in the code. So Hello Dolly is actually built as a way for plugin developers, potential plugin developers, to start to play with this stuff. And we'll probably write a plugin or two during the course of this course. But here's Akismet. Akismet is a more robust system. It should have simple, there's silence is golden. So it does have a class Akismet. There you go. There's the akismet.php file. So typically the primary is the same name as the subdirectory, if you will. And this is where all that commented code is, just like in Hello Dolly. So Hello Dolly is the main file for this plugin, where Akismet is the main file for this, and index is just silence is golden. You get that all the time. But you can see that Akismet is built like using best practices for object-oriented programming. It's got widgets built into it. It's got a REST API, so WordPress also has a REST API. Akismet has command line interface calls that you can use through a variety of sources, and it hooks into the WordPress admin area. It's got its own htaccess file, actually. It's got a bunch of inclusionary files like fonts and images, CSS, JavaScript. It's got views. These are like immense class-based plugins, and if you're going to write plugins, yes, you can write a simple one-page plugin, or you can build yourself a object-oriented programming-based architectural plugin. Writing plugins does take quite a long time to do. I will say that. But the benefit is that you can extend your WordPress. Now, okay, I'm about 19 minutes in, so let's wrap up here. You know, industry standards and practices, you want to use as few plugins as possible. And I've demonstrated for a variety of reasons why. Like, it bloats the database. One of the bad things about plugins is you'll constantly be uninstalling plugins, and they'll leave their entire database structures in there. And so the thing's still functioning even though the plugin isn't there anymore, which is very hard to troubleshoot. So when you're writing plugins, when you're creating plugins, you have to make sure you do all these necessary cleanup things. And you have to understand things like constant integration, constant development, if you want to be a plugin developer. Or if you want to development plugins for your own company, there's no reason why you shouldn't apply those industry standards and practices to your individual plugin projects. And quite honestly, if you're a WordPress person and your company cannot demonstrate a viable reason to build a plugin, you should say these plugins do not exist in this project. And then you have to take the orders of those appointed above you, because that's always the way it is with everything, whether you're a soldier, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a performer. whether you're a WordPress professional, you give your best opinions, your best advice, because everybody on your team is trying their best to accomplish the mission. You say the way you see it from your chair, and then you're always open to the way other people see things. There's no way for you to connect the dots and to become a true puzzle master, if you will, if you do not understand everybody's piece as well or better than you understand your own. I always admit when you have come to the pinnacle of your knowledge and just a simple, I don't know, but I will find out. Demonstrate interest, raise your hand, ask questions. These are all important things. I'm really glad that these 3 episodes are out of the way. Seriously, plugins, themes, what is WordPress? The next episode, what is WordPress databases, will probably be a long and boring and involved deep dive into, conceptual model databases. And I hope you'll join me in that episode. And then immediately following after that, I think we're going to be going over our project plan, because we're still formulating it. This is 4th of July weekend. I can create as many videos as I want today, or I can go hang out with my family, which I probably will do too, which I encourage you to do. No point in having a side hustle. Best side hustle you can have is be a good parent, be a good husband, be a good member of your community. Give your employer your best, practice all your principles in all your areas. And that's what makes a good professional. And I have fallen short many times in my life and my career. And if you learn from your failures, then your failures are never far from your successes. So I wish you a lot of luck in your adventures. My name is Bob Cristello. Nothing I say could be construed as any policies or any software, anything that my company has to say, or any other agency I'm involved with. And nothing I say could be construed as business or financial advice. Caveat emptor. Materials offered as is, no upsell. Until next time, my name is Bob Cristello, and I'll see you later.